Hello, everyone. My name is Eloisa Ramos, and I'm here with my friend Teresa. Hi, Teresa. And today we are going to study the text of A Course in Miracles. We are working on chapter 12, and we are on section 2, which is the way to remember God. Let's see, chapter 12, which is the Holy Spirit's curriculum. And the way to remember God. I was just going to go back to the previous section, though, the judgment of the Holy Spirit, to review just really quick so we can kind of tie things together from one section to another. So let's just look at paragraph 3. There is but one interpretation of motivation that makes any sense. Yes, so previous to that, in paragraph 2, it says, the analysis of ego motivation is very complicated, very obscuring, and never without your own ego involvement. Okay. All right. And if I remember correctly, somewhere in chapter 6, it was saying that it's really not a good idea to try to interpret or to try to really understand people's intentions because the ego gets involved, and we can't know someone's intention but just by looking at their behavior and what they're doing. It may seem like we will just misinterpret things. That's why it's saying here that it is never without your own ego involvement. So what it's saying, however, is that the Holy Spirit interpretation is really the Holy Spirit's judgment, and that does not require any effort at all on our part. Okay, because every loving thought is true. So I'm back to paragraph 3, line 3. Every loving thought is true. Everything else is an appeal for healing and help, regardless of the form it takes. And so, therefore, can anyone be justified in responding with anger to a brother's plea for help? So that's a really good summary. Okay. Because it'll keep us from falling into anger or from justifying attack. So only every loving thought is true. Anything else that we perceive in our brother or in ourselves is not going to be true. It's going to be an appeal for healing and help, regardless of the form it takes. Okay, so that's really helpful when we want to be able to stay and in peace in the present moment. Okay, so let's go ahead and then go to the next section, the way to remember God. Paragraph 1. Miracles are merely the translation of denial into truth. If to love oneself is to heal oneself, those who are sick do not love themselves. Therefore, they are asking for the love that would heal them, but which they are denying to themselves. And if they knew the truth about themselves, they could not be sick. The task of the miracle worker thus becomes to deny the denial of truth. The sick must heal themselves, for the truth is in them. Yet having obscured it, the light in another mind must shine into theirs, because that light is theirs. Okay? Okay, so so this is a really good summary of what the miracle is. Okay, and it uses the word translation. Sometimes it uses the word change in perception, changing our mind. So here it's saying it's a Holy Spirit translation, okay, of what has been denied, which is love, into the truth, okay, which is love. That's what we are. So if to love oneself is to heal oneself, okay, and that's why the forgiveness plays such an important part in our function as miracle workers, because it's through forgiveness that we remember the truth, okay, that what my brother did to me never happened. It is simply a call for healing, a call for love. Because the mind is sick. And so it means that in that moment they are forgetting the love. They're forgetting to love themselves. And it's very interesting. My son came to me this morning. I can't remember the specific of the conversation now, but he really discovered this what we're talking about right now, because he said, something about, let's see. He said, okay, well, if I don't love myself, I can't be happy. And then I can't, I can't offer that to someone else, which is true. So, so anything that is not loving is simply asking for love. And that's the love that would heal them, because they are denying it to themselves. So in other words, to respond with attack would be to simply reinforce the sickness, the belief in sickness. And therefore it would be to add to the denial of the truth, because so that we would not, the mind would not be open to the miracle. Okay, any questions there, Teresa?
No, that's pretty clear.
Yeah. Yes. And it is one mind, because if one mind can shine the light in another mind, okay, then that light is theirs. So it's a shared spirit, it's a shared truth, it's a shared love. So it's one mind that can share that. In line 6, it says the sick must heal themselves, for the truth is in them. So it's never that we are healing somebody else. We're always just healing ourselves, because it's the truth within ourselves that is healing. Is what I'm trying to say is that it can be very tricky, because sometimes a healer, quote unquote healer, can seem to be the one that's giving the healing, but that's not really true. It's the one mind that recognizes the truth that is in everyone, that is the source of the healing. Because in healing, there is no separation. So if a healer is healing someone else, then there would be a separation there. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, number 2.
The light in them shines as brightly regardless of the density of the fog that obscures it. If you give no power to the fog to obscure the light, it has none, for it has power only if the Son of God gives power to it. He must himself withdraw that power, remembering that all power is of God. You can remember this for all the sonship. Do not allow your brother not to remember, for his forgetfulness is yours. But your remembering is his, for God cannot be remembered alone. This is what you have forgotten. To perceive the healing of your brother as the healing of yourself is thus the way to remember God. For you forgot your brothers with him, and God's answer to your forgetting is but the way to remember. I guess it's basically saying that what we see in our brother is really going on with us as well, because we're one. We have to remember together. It's when we're together that we shine the light and heal each other.
Mhm. Yes. So, yes. So it also talks about power here.
Yes.
Mhm. Yes. And what's the fog?
The fog would be the ego, or
Mhm.
anything that block, which is ego.
Mhm. Yeah. So it's, conflict, it's attack, it's
Any of that.
any of that. All of that is a perception of separation. Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, and the first line is really a line of perfect equality. Okay. So irregardless of whether, someone is sick and someone is not sick, or irregardless of the external appearances, the light in them shines as brightly. Okay. Regardless of the density of the fog that obscures it. So there's perfect equality. I know sometimes we want to deny that, and we want to say, oh no, there's people that are, are not, well, we want to judge them to be without that light, but that's impossible. So the only power that fog has is the power that we give it with our belief in separation. Okay. If we withdraw that power, then it has none. And that's why Leiden says he must himself withdraw that power, remembering that all power is of God. And so this is basically the undoing of the belief that we can usurp power from God and therefore attack God. So it's really releases a lot of ideas, the belief in sin, all of that, because they're connected to the idea of power. If God is all powerful, then God is the source of all power, period. And we share in that power, but we're not the source of that power. So, yeah. Okay, number 3. So, perceive in sickness, but another call for love. And offer your brother what he believes he cannot offer himself. Whatever the sickness, there is but one remedy. You will be made whole as you make whole. For to perceive in sickness the appeal for health is to recognize in hatred the call for love. And to give a brother what he really wants is to offer it unto yourself. For your father wills you to know your brother as yourself. Answer his call for love, and yours is answered. Healing is the love of Christ for his Father and for himself. Okay. Okay. So let's look at line 3. You will be made whole as you make whole. Okay. For to perceive in sickness the appeal for health is to recognize in hatred the call for love. Okay. So, I mean, hatred is a very strong emotion. It's a very strong word, but when we when we look at the world, when we look at our relationships, and when we interact with others, okay, and um, and there is a perception of well, it's going to be a judgment of some kind, basically. Okay, it's going to be either we're perceiving, our brother as loving, or we're going to be perceiving them in a way that is not loving. And that's going to be because we're judging something, either what they're doing, what they're saying, oh, that was really mean, or what he did was cruel, how could he do that, to so and so, or, um, oh no, I don't want him to come and help me. I hate him. Had someone say that to me. I'm like, okay. Okay. So what do we do with all of that? So here's what it's saying. Look, um, it's the mind needs healing. The mind is calling. It's an appeal for health. That's all. Someone is not in their right mind. I mean, I can say that, I can think of times that I was not in my right mind and I said things that I later regretted. Okay. So then I have, I need to forgive myself. Okay. Because I was sick. I was not in my right mind, and I was calling for love, because in that moment I had forgotten that I could teach only love, because that's what I am. There's that lesson, teach only love, for that is what you are. So and I know that sometimes, like if you get into politics and things like that, we can make a very strong investment in taking a side. And once we take a side, okay, we will be perceiving separation. That's why, because once we take a side, we can no longer perceive wholeness. We will not perceive ourselves as at whole, and we will not perceive others as whole. So that's why the number 3 is using the word whole. You will be made whole as you make whole. Okay, so to not get caught up in all of the conflict, and the drama of the world, we have to remember that it's not about taking sides, and that it's not about one side is right and one side is wrong. It's about recognizing the truth that we are all perfectly equal and the same, regardless of what point of view we want to, ascribe to. And and therefore, we will be able to look at anyone, regardless of their political view, regardless of their, position in terms of, I don't know, who their favorite sports, um, team is, regardless of, so that we're not seeing opposition, because it will keep us from remembering that we're all one, and then we will forget God. So this is telling us this is the way to remember God. Okay, we need to perceive sickness as another call for love. Okay, we need to look at hatred and see that it's just a call for love. Okay, and that's what we want to give, because having remembered that all we are is love, then we can share that and offer it unto our brothers, and that is God's will, because that is how we come to know our brother as ourself. And that's basically the undoing of separation. And that's the miracle. That's the miracle, and it brings forth healing, because it's the love of Christ for his Father, for God, and also for ourselves, since there is only one Son of God. Okay. Any questions, Teresa? No?
No.
All right, number 4.
Remember what was said about the frightening perceptions of little children, which terrify them because they do not understand them. If they ask for enlightenment and accept it, their fears vanish. But if they hide their nightmares, they will keep them. It is easy to help an uncertain child, for he recognizes that he does not understand what his perceptions mean. Yet you believe that you do understand yours. Little child, you are hiding your head under the cover of the heavy blankets you have laid upon yourself. You are hiding your nightmares in the darkness of your own false certainty and refusing to open your eyes and look at them. He's saying that we have frightening perceptions, and a child who has frightening perceptions realizes that he doesn't really know what that means, but we think we know what that means. So we're hiding.
Yes. So what we're hiding is we're hiding the errors, okay, that we've made into sins.
And we're making frightening perceptions real.
Well, because of the experience of attack, okay. So when you judge something a threat, and when you identify with being a body, okay, the experience of being attacked, okay, you can think of it in terms of maybe physical abuse or sexual abuse, or any kind of childhood, bullying at school, anything like that, getting hit. So those kinds of events can be traumatic. Okay, we label them traumatic. Okay, and a lot of times we are embarrassed or ashamed of them, so we bury them in the unconscious. We just we don't tell anyone. We try not to look at them. We basically try to forget it. So that's kind of what it's saying here with little children. They don't understand what happened. Okay, I can't make sense of this event. Okay, and I can't process it, so it stays stuck. Okay, but if you ask for enlightenment, if you ask for the light of truth, okay, and you accept that and look at it with that light of truth, the Holy Spirit, okay, then all of those fears vanish and the error is brought up for healing. Okay, but if we protect those nightmares, okay, those past events, what we end up doing is we end up clouding our perception, and we're looking at what's happening now through the lens of the past fears. And that's how we miscreate basically the same drama over and over in different forms. So it stays unhealed. And a lot of times, when I work with people with doing the EFT, it shows up, that stuck memory shows up as pain. It can show up as, in the knee. Maybe you have something going on with the knee when you walk, or it can show up. It can show up all kinds of places. It can show up in the neck. I woke up with a crank in my neck. I can't move it. There's stiffness. There's an inability to move. But but the symptom, the physical symptom, is always a metaphor for the error that we are holding in the mind as a misperception that has been unhealed. So there's going to be a grievance there. There's going to be, unforgiveness there. There's going to be guilt. There's whatever is there that has not been looked at with the Holy Spirit, with a light. Will stay stuck there, and it will show up as physical symptoms. So let's see. Yes. And so this false certainty, of course, is not certainty. So when we hide all these past ideas, sometimes, people say, well, I remember, because my mother had Alzheimer's, and there was a friend of hers that came to visit her, and she ended up also having Alzheimer's. But I remember that she said something to me like, oh no, there's just some things that you cannot talk about. You have to keep to yourself, kind of like family secrets, something like that, something to that effect. And I also remember a conversation I had with my mother where she really thought that the best way to deal with unpleasant events, whether it was, conflict with, because she was telling my sister, oh, if your husband, is yelling at you or whatever, just pretend you didn't hear him, like, don't look at the problem. In other words, don't look at the fear. Just so I think that there's a pattern that we develop in ways to cope with these painful events that just not offer healing. And this is about healing. Course in Miracles is about letting go of all the pain. And that means being willing to being willing to ask for enlightenment and accept it, so that all those fears, all those errors can vanish. Okay. Anything, Teresa, on that one?
Yeah, it's really interesting, because it sounds like what we're saying is that as we experience trauma, we embed it in our body and it comes out as physical symptoms. And until we are willing to give that to the Holy Spirit to shine the light and heal us, we just carry it around, and it blocks love.
Yes, because that's what dissociation is, or the unconscious, is we just throw it in the closet. And the cellular memory, think of it in terms of, oh, that's the closet. I don't want to see it. So I throw it in the body, and then I dissociate from the body as an ego. Okay. And then I say, oh, that has nothing to do with me, except that I'm still in pain, but as long as I don't take responsibility for it, then for sure I'm not going to be willing to look at it, because, hey, it's not even mine, and I can just make up, I can just make up stories and project guilt and say, oh yeah, well, I got this because, I was in a car accident, or, I got this because I walked, I stepped on my foot the wrong way and twisted my knee, or whatever. We come up with all these stories of how of the cause, how that pain got to be there. What's interesting about it is that the stories can change as you start looking at it with someone. They actually, depending on how dissociated they are, they can actually have different made up memories of how that pain showed up, because they're hiding it. Neither of those memories is actually accurate, but they're hiding something else underneath. So yeah, it's just interesting how that kind of works through. So the most important thing really in healing is being open and being honest with our past ideas and misperceptions, and being open to correction, and not being and letting go of any shame or embarrassment over being wrong, because our wanting to be right and is a block to that light, because it keeps the misperception stuck. So the correction is blocked, and that's healing. Correction is healing. So okay. All right, number 5, my turn. Okay, let us not save nightmares, for they are not fitting offerings for Christ, and so they are not fit gifts for you. Take off the covers and look at what you are afraid of. Only the anticipation will frighten you, for the reality of nothingness cannot be frightening. Let us not delay this, for your dream of hatred will not leave you without help. And help, with a capital H, is here. Learn to be quiet in the midst of turmoil, for quietness is the end of strife, and this is the journey to peace. Look straight at every image that rises to delay you, for the goal is inevitable because it is eternal. The goal of love is but your right, and it belongs to you despite your dreams. Yes, so all these nightmares, all these past, grievances are basically just covering, the child, covering his head with the blankets to not look at what we're afraid of. And because we've buried it, we are, like it says here, it's only the anticipation that will frighten you. We start imagining, oh, it's the unknown. I don't want to go into, I threw it in the closet for a reason. I don't want to go looking at the mess that I made. So it's that resistance that's that shows up as fear of really looking and opening the mind to seeing what's there. There's nothing there, and part of it is that we don't want to forgive. So we don't want to look, because as long as we don't look, we can think there's something there. Yes, they really did this to me. I really am a victim. They really attacked me. Okay. And so why would I want to look there and see that it was nothing? I would have to give up my whole identity of, being a victim and being justified in attacking them and so and so. So it does, require that we realize that trying to hold something against someone is only making us suffer, and it's painful to us. It may not even, it may not mean anything to them at all. So we have to make that link that trying to hold something against someone is really hurting us, because there's no benefit at all. We think there's benefits in holding grievances, but there isn't. Once we can see that it's really the source of our own suffering, we're much more willing to be open and honest and really look at that and be okay with saying, okay, so yeah, I thought there was something there and there's nothing there. So I'm wrong. It's okay. That's good news. I'm happy. I don't have to suffer now. So, yes. So let us not delay. It's a dream of hatred, and we want a happy dream. And we have the help with a capital H. So that's in our mind, Holy Spirit. And it's saying that, we need to learn to be quiet in the midst of turmoil, because a lot of times turmoil, we tend to get sucked into the turmoil, the conflict. We tend to get into the drama, and this is saying, you want to be able to maintain this quiet space so that you can remain at peace, irregardless of the drama going around. Because this is the only way that we can offer peace, is by having peace. And this is how we are able to look straight at every image that rises, because the past is, these are all past memories that have been buried, and so they do come up in layers. Sometimes every once in a while, like, it can come up all in one shot, which for some people, makes it really fearful, but it's a matter of just having someone there that's calm and can just sort of talk you through that and help you process and release. So so the goal of love is our right, and it belongs to everyone, despite whatever dreams we may have that are contrary or in opposition to that. Okay, number 6.
You still want what God wills, and no nightmare can defeat a child of God in his purpose. For your purpose was given you by God, and you must accomplish it because it is his will. Awake and remember your purpose, for it is your will to do so. What has been accomplished for you must be yours. Do not let your hatred stand in the way of love, for nothing can withstand the love of Christ for his Father, or his Father's love for him. So don't allow these blocks or nightmares or trauma to block you from God.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Away
From what?
purpose.
From offering what?
I'm sorry?
What would you offer to your brother?
Love.
Yeah,
Forgiveness.
exactness. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Away purpose, which is to forgive and to love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And let your hatred stand in the way of love, for nothing can withstand the love of God.
Yes, and it's about remembering true power. Because a lot of times we look at power as weakness, and that's not true at all. If you think it's weakness, then try offering only love for a day.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. No, it is a very powerful decision to choose love rather than attack or fear.
Yep.
Yeah. And it is uniting with the will of God. So it has all of the power of God behind it. So that's why it's invincible. That's where our invulnerability comes from. The other lesson is, in my defenselessness, my safety lies. So that's recognizing that safety is actually in withdrawing our allegiance to attack, because defense is just another form of attack. So yeah, and it also says that what has been accomplished for you must be yours. So that's interesting, because it says that it has already been accomplished. Because remember that the separation was given answer the instant that it arose. So any perception of separation is actually a past memory that is no longer here and is not real. So the answer has already been provided, and it's already corrected the mind. The only thing that we're doing is the waking up is a remembering of the truth. It's not a real, it's not making the truth. The truth has never changed. But it's our forgetting that has to be undone. Yeah, so. Okay, anything more, Teresa? No, okay, number 7. A little while and you will see me, for I am not hidden because you are hiding. I will awaken you as surely as I awakened myself, for I awoke for you. In my resurrection is your release. Our mission is to escape from crucifixion, not from redemption. Trust in my help, for I did not walk alone, and I will walk with you as our Father walked with me. Do you not know that I walked with him in peace? And does not that mean that peace goes with us on the journey? Okay, so this is our brother Jesus talking here. And he says, for I am not hidden. Okay, but it's you that's hiding. So if we don't see our brother Jesus, it's because we're hiding. um, I will awaken you as surely as I awaken myself. So, for I awoke for you. Yeah. So the Christ mind is the resurrected Jesus, and it is the awakened mind that remembers the truth. So the mission really is to escape from crucifixion, which is suffering, pain, sickness, death, everything that seems to be here in the world. And of course, the world is a dream. It's not really here. But it's an illusion. And so we want to wake up from that illusion. The Course calls it, changing the perception so that we can experience a happy dream. Because from the happy dream, the next step is easily taken, and it's done by God, our return to knowledge. So this is just a very reassuring paragraph, of Jesus saying, hey, just trust me, I walk with you. And he's saying, do you not know that I walked with him in peace? So his whole life was, about teaching love, for that is what he was. And yes, he walked in peace. He was not, in his defenselessness. He demonstrated that love. In the crucifixion, we were reading, the reinterpretation of the crucifixion, how the crucifixion could be a very extreme example of cruelty, and yet he didn't react with anger. He completely forgave everyone. Forgive them, for they do not know what they do. Okay, they're calling for love, and that's what he gave. So he has peace, and gives us that peace, and comes with us on our journey here. Okay, number 8.
There is no fear in perfect love. We will but be making perfect to you what is already perfect in you. You do not fear the unknown, but the known. You will not fail in your mission because I did not fail in mine. Give me but a little trust in the name of the complete trust I have in you, and we will easily accomplish the goal of perfection together. For perfection is and cannot be denied. To deny the denial of perfection is not so difficult as to deny truth, and what we can accomplish together will be believed when you see it as accomplished. I guess he's saying, walk with me and we'll make your love perfect. Trust in me and as I trust in you, so that we can be perfectly in love together.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but look at line 2 there. Okay, we will but be making perfect to you Okay, so it's a matter of perception. Okay, so the basis, and I remember reading this in our Thursday class, that the Holy Spirit starts by recognizing, by seeing us as completely perfect as how we were created. And because that's what it says here, to you, what is already perfect in you. Okay, so to make perfect is simply to bring perception into alignment with truth. So perception can be distorted, and then we have, there's right perception and wrong perception, true perception, false perception. If we distort perception, it will be false. But by making perception perfect, we bring it into alignment with what is already perfect, which is knowledge in us. So the miracle is that change in perception that restores or corrects the distortion of perceiving ourselves as imperfect, which is wrong perception. It's not true, because we have not changed ourselves. We did not accomplish the impossible by being able to change what God, who is all powerful, created, and therefore cannot be changed, because God is all powerful. There would not be anything greater in power that could change that. Okay. Yes. So
What about number 7? To deny the denial of perfection is not so difficult as to deny truth.
Okay, so go one line before. For perfection is, you see, and cannot be denied. So perfection is meaning that there is no image to it. So in other words, the ego will try to make up an image of perfection and will say, oh, look, so-and-so is on the front cover of Vogue magazine. Well, that's the image of perfection, okay? Okay, well, no, perfection does not have an image, okay? That's why the body cannot be turned into something that's perfect. So perception, because it is subject to variation and judgment, okay, cannot be perfect. I mean, all we have to do is look at all the errors in seeing, tasting, hearing. We can look at someone from far away and say, oh, I know that person. And then we get closer and it's like, oh, no, it's not the person I thought it was. Okay, I'm not seeing right. Okay, so or oh, I remember this. I'm gonna drink this today, and then you taste it, and I'm like, oh, it doesn't taste, but the way that I remember it is not as good. Okay, so all of our body senses, which we use to perceive, are subject to variation and differences and distortions. So they're very inaccurate. That's why we make mistakes. That's why, in accounting, they always teach you to double check your math. Because we can flip numbers, we can reverse them. I mean, we do all kinds of things that are going to distort the bottom line on that worksheet. So anyway, so perfection just is. It has nothing to do with perception. Okay, and that's why it cannot be denied, because denial is part of perception. So to deny, okay, the denial of perfection, which would be to deny absolute truth or knowledge. Okay, so to deny perfection is to oppose the truth. Okay, which means that we would be that the mind would be in the wrong mind. It would be in the mind of illusion. Okay, so what it's saying here is to deny illusion is not so difficult, okay, as to deny truth. Okay, because to deny truth, okay, denying truth requires that we dissociate the truth. Because, you know, it's like if I'm telling you a lie and I'm aware that it's a lie, I have to know the truth. Otherwise, I can't distort it to make it into a lie. You see what I'm saying? So if I'm going to lie, what I'm doing is I am denying a fact. And in order to do that, I have to intentionally want to hide the fact so that you don't see it. Okay. And if I do that, and in order to do that and actually be convincing, okay, I have to try very, very hard to believe the lie myself. Okay, because otherwise someone's going to look at me and say, oh, well, you don't sound very convincing when you say that. You know, are you sure you're telling me the truth? You know, people can kind of sense, you know, like a child telling a lie to their parent. They can kind of sense, you know, sometimes. So it's actually it is a little more difficult to deny a fact because you know the fact, but then you have to deny it and make up a lie while you know it. Uh, so anyway, yeah. And what we can accomplish together will be believed when you see it. So the miracle, the perfection, okay, is seen through the miracle. Okay, because the miracle witnesses to the truth. Because it's coming from beyond time. And so the miracle is not bound to the loss of the world. And that's why Jesus could heal the sick and could restore sight to the blind and could and people that were, you know, unable to walk could walk, and he could walk on water. Um, um, because he understood, he knew the truth, and he was not denying the truth. He was denying the illusion. You know, so he was denying the sickness. That's not true. You're not sick. That's not what you are, you know. So anyway, does that help,
Yeah.
Teresa? Okay. Number 9, you who have tried to banish love have not succeeded, but you who chose to banish fear must succeed. The Lord is with you, but you know it not. Yet your Redeemer liveth and abideth in you in the peace out of which he was created. Would you not exchange this awareness for the awareness of fear? When we have overcome fear, not by hiding it, not by minimizing it, and not by denying its full import in any way, this is what you will really see. You cannot lay aside the obstacles to real vision without looking upon them, for to lay aside means to judge against. If you will look, the Holy Spirit will judge, and he will judge truly. Yet he cannot shine away what you keep hidden, for you have not offered it to him, and he cannot take it from you. Okay, so the Course, says that the miracle workers, it's their only job is to undo fear, because we cannot offer miracles when the mind is in fear. Okay, so the goal of the Course is not to learn, the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be learned, but it is to banish fear. Okay. And we're not alone in this. So the Lord is with us when we choose to banish fear. Even if we don't remember that that's true, the Lord is always with us. Okay. And yet your Redeemer liveth and abideth in you, in the peace of which he was created. So that would be Jesus Christ, the Christ mind. Abideth with us in peace. And out of that peace, he was created. So the truth of what we are, our true identity as the Christ mind, is one Son, the one Son of God. And he was created out of peace. So therefore, peace is our natural inheritance. And when we choose conflict, when we choose fear, it's saying, would you not exchange this awareness for the awareness of fear? I mean, would you rather not have the awareness of peace rather than the awareness of fear and conflict and survival and anxiety and, worry and all of that comes with fear? Because all the emotions are basically fear-based. So when we have overcome fear, not by hiding it, okay, so we don't have to dissociate from the fear to pretend that it's not there. We don't have to minimize it. We don't have to talk ourselves into saying, oh, that wasn't that scary. I almost threw up, but it wasn't that scary. Let's do it again next time, roller coaster or something. And not by denying its full import in any way. So we also don't want to deny its full import, because, when people are in fear, and when there's sickness, the fear can really overtake the mind. So we don't want to deny that is playing a very important part in the situation. Then we will see, this is what you will really see, which is let's see, obstacles to real vision, which is to see that which is to see the miracle, which is to become aware of the miracle when we have overcome fear. And not by doing any of these, but by opening the mind to the light of truth, which is the Holy Spirit. And what we will see is that it's not there, that there is no such thing as fear. And the mind is therefore free of fear. So 6, you cannot lay aside the obstacles to real vision without looking upon them. So the child does need to look. If they think there's a monster hiding under the bed in the dark, well, then we need to take a battery and shine the light under the bed and the child can look and see for themselves. Look, nothing there. Okay. And so to lay aside the fears means to judge against, and it's the Holy Spirit that judges. And says, look, you're misperceiving here. It's an error. Okay. What you think is there is not really there. So what your brother did to you, he really did not do to you. Okay. So 7, if you will look, the Holy Spirit will judge, and he will judge truly. So we will see it differently. And I see that, with clients, when they shift the perception, they realize, oh yes, that's right. My mother wasn't somehow, giving preference to my older sister and, making me the bad guy. Okay. What was really going on was that she was really worried about my older sister and this and this and this. And the shift is love. There's love now. She can see her mother with love. She can see her older sister with love now, whereas before she had a lot of resentment for this, and this, and it's healed. So but the emphasis of this whole section is really about how we don't want to keep these misperceptions and grievances hidden, because the Holy Spirit cannot shine them away. Yeah, because we have to offer it willingly. He's not going to just barge in there and poof, take them away. Yeah. Okay. Number 10.
We are therefore embarking on an organized, well-structured, and carefully planned program aimed at learning how to offer to the Holy Spirit everything you do not want. He knows what to do with it. You do not understand how to use what he knows. Whatever is given him that is not of God is gone. Yet you must look at it yourself in perfect willingness, for otherwise his knowledge remains useless to you. Surely he will not fail to help you, since help is his only purpose. Do you not have greater reason for fearing the world as you perceive it than for looking at the cause of fear and letting it go forever? So I guess basically in a nutshell, it's line 7. Look at the cause of fear and let it go forever. Knowing that we have help to do that, it's not like we have to do it on our own.
Yes. Yeah. And if we don't do that, what will happen is that we will project that fear and we will see a fearful world.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And if we're not perfectly willing, we're not going to see it.
We're not going to see that it's our own fears that we're projecting.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're going to think that the world is actually something that's out there and that it is in and of itself fearful. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah, which will, it will have a lot of, because of the error, it will, it will keep us very limited, you could say. Because then, depending on what it is that we're afraid in the world, we have to make sure that we stay away from it, that we have armor to defend against it, that there's a lot, that we have to try to do to protect ourselves from it. And that means that we're going to have probably trust issues, because how can we trust anything in the world or anyone in the world when we're afraid of it? So the relationships, we're going to have difficulty in our relationships. We're going to have difficulty in finances. We're just going to have difficulties everywhere. And we're going to feel very helpless and powerless because we're making it all separate from us out there, and we don't have any control over it. Either that or we try to compensate and then become very controlling, in trying to manipulate situations, relationships, the people around us, all of that. And it's all out of fear. Yeah. Yes, and and there's people that will say to me, "How is it that I am so good at manifesting what I don't want?" And I'm like, "Well, if you're holding on to fear, that's what we do." So, so we want to be, we want to question our own, what comes out of our own mouth. The things I say, the things I think, the things I believe. A lot of times it's not very easy to get to the belief, what am I believing here? But if we really listen and pay attention to the what we do and what we say, and we look at it without judging it, kind of like a third person, it gives us a good idea of what's hiding, what are the fears that are hiding under there. And what's really weird is that we can try to have safety from those fears by holding on to the fear, which is a complete contradiction. Let me see if I can give you an example. So my son, he put a couple of things up on eBay. And he said to me, he said, "Oh, I don't know if I'll be able," he says, "I don't think I'm going to be able to get my money back, and I go, "Okay, well, do you want to keep an open mind, or would you rather just be right?" Because it's not what you want. So sometimes what we think is going to happen, because I think I know, and I think I'm going to be right, and I would rather, there's a part of me that doesn't want that outcome, but there's a part of me that feels like, well, there's safety there, because at least I have control of the future. I can be right about the future, you see. So so you want to be able to question all of that, because obviously there is no future, and why are you trying to control the future? That's just taking you away from the peace in the moment. So then we're investing fear in thoughts of the future. So anyway, yeah. Okay, so any questions? That's the end of the section here. The way to remember God. So the way to remember God is to be open to the light of the Holy Spirit that shines the truth, and is the judge of what thoughts are real and not real. So only loving thoughts are real. Only loving thoughts are true. They're of God. And by looking at the thoughts that we made up, imagined, that have distorted true thoughts, by looking at those with the Holy Spirit recognizes that they're false, so we let go of the belief in them. Because the reason why we hold on to them is because we actually made them real to ourselves. We believed we were right in thinking that thought, and therefore gave it the power of our belief. And that's why it has power, but it's a distortion, it's a fog. So we want to be able to clear that, to lift that, and the light of the Holy Spirit does that for us. And that's how the mind is healed. Okay. All right.
Mhm.
So any questions before we stop?
Nope, I think that's great.
Okay, great. So thank you. Thank you for joining us. And let me see, what's the next section? It is the investment in reality. Okay. All right. So we'll see you next time. Bye.